Everyone. Today we are celebrating the Vesak full moon that marks the birth, awakening, and the great demise, the Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha. So welcome everyone to this event. Thank you so much for joining us. Just briefly about who the Buddha is. That's the backbone of this story. A prince born in a kingdom in Nepal about 2,600 years ago, who left home, studied with many ascetic teachers for 6 years and attained awakening that we call Sambodhi. Then passed away at the age of 80 after about 45 years of teaching. And those teachings are so valuable for us. We still keep thinking about them and try to improve our lives based on those teachings. Just to begin with, I'd like to share a couple of poems that are supposed to be the actual words of the Buddha that he uttered soon after his awakening. The words are in Pali. I will read them in Pali and then I'll read the translation as well. So I hope that will give a sense of the importance of his journey through the samsara for many births, and then the significance of his awakening for us. So it says, Aneka jati sangsarang sandha visang anibisang gahakarang gavi santo dukkha jati punang gahakaraka ditthosi punagehang nakahasi sambe te phasuka bhakka gahakutang visankhatang Visankhara gatang chittang tanhanang khayamajjaga. I who have been seeking the builder of this house, failing to attain enlightenment, which would enable me to find him, have wandered through innumerable births in samsara. To be born again and again is indeed dukkha, suffering. O house builder, you are seen. You shall build no house for me again. All your rafters are broken. Your roof tree is destroyed. My mind has reached the unconditioned, the nibbana. The end of craving has been attained. In a very poetic verse, with the metaphor of body as the house of suffering, the Buddha says that all his teaching and enlightenment, everything is about bringing an end to our suffering. And that is, I think, as students of his teaching, we can try to accomplish how we can bring an end to suffering for ourselves and the people around us. So Buddhists across Asia and now all over the world celebrate this Vesak full moon. We are actually fortunate that we are able to celebrate it on the actual full moon. So look out for the full moon tonight. So Buddhists across the Asia and all over the world celebrate this day to mark the birth, awakening, and great demise of the Buddha. Usually we celebrate this with a lot of religious observances that go on for days, actually, weeks, sometimes months. In Sri Lanka, for example, I lived there for a long time. They celebrate this entire month as the Vesak month, with lots of religious observances, practicing generosity, meditation, and so on, and a lot of cultural performances. But this year we are not able to do it the way we are used to do it. We are quietly joining this Zoom meeting from our own houses, which adds a different dimension to this event, so we can reflect in more private manner the significance of the Buddha and his teachings for us. Before we begin our event today, we have many of our regular teachers who are joining us. So grateful. Before we begin our program, where we'll have offerings, chantings and Dhamma discussions by our teachers. I'd like to take this opportunity to express my thanks and gratitude to the Buddhist club members who have to put this event together. Lacey, Meha, Jacob, Sarah, Marianne, Bill, Babu, James, Emory, Shu, Amir, who put their thoughts together about organizing these. So I'm grateful to all of them. And I'm also grateful to the Office of Spiritual and Religious Life for kindly co-sponsoring the event. Reverend Greg and Zach from the OSRL are here. Before we begin the event, I'd like to request Reverend Gregory Mcgonagall, the Dean of the Office of Spiritual and Religious Life, to share a few words with us, few words of greetings. Reverend Greg, please.
Thank you so much, Venerable Upali, and greetings, everyone. It's so good to be with you this afternoon. It's wonderful to see everyone's faces and names, and to be together to celebrate this great day. This has become something of a spring tradition in my own life of celebrating Buddha Day, though it's my first one here at Emory, and it's just a joy to be with you and to be learning more about this community, even as we celebrate the Buddha and this day. Earlier today, I was on a panel in which we were talking about of course, the current pandemic that we are in, and the issue of discrimination and bias and violence actually that is happening toward people, toward members of the Asian American community, especially in light of the the geographic origin of the pandemic and its spread and so forth. And I, in that setting too, I mentioned that this is a day in many places, many cultures, where the life and the teachings of the Buddha are celebrated. And so many of our wisdom traditions actually come to us from Asia, whether it's East Asia, South Asia, or West Asia. And just really reflecting on, as Venerable said, the core teaching of the Buddha being about liberating sentient beings from suffering, right? Liberating all beings from suffering, ourselves and every other being. And what I encourage this group to think about, and we were reflecting on, is just the ways the current moment that we're in invite us to remember the interdependence that we all have on one another, that we are more connected even than we sometimes think, or we know on one level, but in this time we know that we are so deeply connected, and our liberation is also connected with the liberation of every other being, right? And so I think today is a beautiful day for remembering those teachings, the beautiful example of Buddha's life, and also the community that we share with all who are gathered here, with all who would be celebrating around the world, and all who are in fact connected to this day and to the celebration, which is really, as we know, everyone. So thank you for letting me just say some greetings on this day. It's a great joy to be with you. I look forward to the chanting, and I think Marianne may have some relics to venerate, which is also very exciting, and some meditation with you. But wonderful to see your faces. Happy Buddha Day to each and every one of you, and hope you always know that the Office of Spiritual Life is here to be supportive of you and your practice, and these teachings, however we possibly can be. That is our mission and our goal. So it's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for inviting me to be part of the celebration today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend. So before we begin the event where we have chanting and the Dhamma talks, I'd like to now take a few minutes to silently reflect about our own encounter with Buddhism, or just the Buddha as a historical figure or as a religious teacher, how we have come across his teachings and what this means for us. So shall we take a few minutes just to reflect and do a meditation, what we call the Buddhanusmriti Bhavana, the reflections on the Buddha. Okay, thank you very much. Now I invite my friend Sarah Khan, who has been very kindly helping us with the Buddhist club activities for so many years, to introduce our teachers and performers of the day, so that you don't have to keep seeing my face all the time. So I request Sarah to introduce the teachers and the program as they come up.
Okay, thank you, Upali. And to facilitate our meeting today, there is a website that we put together that has the schedule of the events and all of the chanting liturgy that we can follow for the teachers. So I posted that in the Zoom chat, and I will repost it as well. So please, if you can, open that website so we can follow along through that website. Would be very helpful. We are very lucky to have so many teachers who represent the Buddhist tradition in Atlanta. And we're even luckier that we were able to have 4 teachers join us today online. So in order of who will be leading the chanting, first we have Venerable Dipankara from the Georgia Buddhist Vihara. So he lives in a monastery outside of Lithonia, Georgia, and you are feel free to check out their website. It's the Georgia Buddhist Vihara. It's also on the website as well, so you can find him there. And they're also having their own Vesak celebrations this weekend. And we're also joined by Geshe Damdol, who is our resident teacher from Glossling Monastery. And he has been coming for many years to deliver teachings. So we're very lucky to have him on today as well. And Glossling Monastery is in Dunwoody. So that information again is on the website. And then third, we have Venerable Dong Hui. She represents the Mahayana tradition. She is also near Lithonia, Georgia at Kim Kang. It's called Kim Kang Monastery. And I believe they also have events going on through Zoom this weekend as well. So please search for their monastery on Facebook or on Google. And we're also very lucky to have her. She's been coming for many years as well. And then finally, we have Michael Elliston Roshi. You can call him Sensei. And he comes from the Atlanta Soto Zen Center, which is actually very close to Emory. It's right across from the Kroger. It's on Briarcliff Road. And he represents the Soto Zen tradition. We're very lucky to have him as well. He's been coming to Buddhist Club for at least since I started 6 years ago, I'd say, for a while. So thank you as well, Sensei, for coming. And before we start asking the teachers to provide guidance and teachings, we, the students of Buddhist Club, would like to pay our gratitude for the teachers who, through their teachings, represent the Buddha to us. So we would like to provide a brief chant for everyone. And Marianne Florian, she will be leading this chant. You can also chant along. Please have your mics muted though, so it will just be Marianne's voice and we'll chant at home to her voice. And you can follow the song on the website. So if you go to the website and you scroll down to the students chanting, you'll see the section on Adoration of the Buddha's Relics. And once you have that up, Marianne will kindly guide us through this chanting. So thank you, Marianne.
Thanks to you, Sarah and Upali, and our venerable teachers. Can you hear me? Okay, great. As people are pulling up the document that has the words to this chant, I just wanted to share that it is words and music composed by Reverend Master G.U. Kennett of the Order of Buddhist Contemplatives, and that's the Buddhist organization that I first joined in 2009. And so it means a lot to me, and the teacher from last week, Reverend Rokuzan Kronki, this is also his tradition. And while we were meditating on the Buddha just now, an image came to my mind of the Buddha as a kind of umbrella providing shelter, but that our every shelter through the Buddha Dharma consists in not yearning for shelter. Our every shelter in the Buddha Dharma consists in making an offering of shelter to ourselves and others. And we're so grateful for the Buddha and teachers for pointing that out. So now I'll chant Adoration of the Buddha's Relics. I don't actually have any relics, but I do have some items on my altar that have been blessed by some teachers. I'll leave the relics to the organizations that can provide access to them. Adoration of the Buddha's relics. Homage to the relics of the Buddha of merit all. Homage to the body of truth, which is truth itself, and a stupa for the world of the Dharma for our present body. Through the merits of the Buddha, the truth enters into us, and we enter the truth. Through the excellent power of Buddha, we realize truth. Let us do only good things for all living things, that we may possess the true mind. Let us do only pure deeds, that we may enter the peaceful mind, which is unchanging, great wisdom. Let us pay homage eternally to the Buddha, to the Buddha, to the Buddha. Homage to the relics of the Buddha of merit all. Homage to the body of truth, which is truth itself, and a stupa for the world of the Dharma for our present body.
Thank you, Marianne. And with that, with gratitude, we then ask the teachers to invoke the Buddha for us. So, Venerable Dipankara, if you would so please to lead us through the chants as well. Thank you.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Vidya charana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sattha deva manusanam Buddho Bhagavati Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditthiko Akaliko Ehipassiko Opanayiko Paccatthang Vetitabbo Vinyuhiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Uchupatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Nyāyapatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Samīti patipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Yadidang cattari purisa yukani Atte purisa punggala Esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ahuneyo pahuneyo Dakhineyo anjali karaneyo Anuttarang punyak ketang lokasasati Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Venerable Dipankara. And a similar verse. So, homage to Shakyamuni Buddha, invoking the Buddha's name, will now be chanted by Geshe Danto in Tibetan. So, on that website, again, you can scroll down to that section for the verse in Tibetan and then the translation. Thank you, Geshe Danto. Geshe Danto, you need to unmute your mic.
Tumba jumden de dishi shekpa ta jumba yanda pa zobe san rikpa dan shabzu denpa tevar shekpa chidin yuwo dube kalu yuwa lana minam ji tumba sanji jumden de pe jawa shakya dupa chaze lo chudu jasu ji tumba jumden de dishi shekpa ta jumba yanda pa zobe san Rigba dan shabzu denpa tevara shekpa jiden Yivu Dube Kalu Jurwa Lana Tata Minam Ji Dumba Sanje Jumden Pejawa Shaja Uba La Chat Chodo Jasu Che Dumba Jumden De Dijin Jekwa Chachumba Yanda Banzo Rigba Dang Jabzu Demba Devar Shikpa Jiden Jemba Jivu Kalu Jurwa Lana Meba Lata Minam Ji Dumba Sanje Jumden De Pejawa Shaja Duba La Chat Chodo Jasu Che Kanze Ganye Zobo Kyotam Se Sajin De La Gomba Jumba Mane Jigden Di Na Choje Tese Keba Chula Cha Nanda Guma Chodo Susang Ishe Jazo Serye Lumbo Chaba Jigden Sumna Lame Wa Gombo Chonye Kyola Cha Senjo Demba Jime Dave She Sendo Dawa Jula Cha Jude Juda Siba Sumaji Nyame Kenjen Jula Cha Gombo Tuje Chendemba Tamje Kembe Dumba Sunam Yende Jazu Shin Deshin Shela Cha Tabe De Cha Dever Ju Gewe Ngeson Le Ju Chido Dendam Choju Shijuru Chela Cha Dene Deve Lamyang Laba Dala Rato Shingi Damba Yunde Kendu Layang Cha Diba Jiang Mijashi Kewa Puzum Sobarache Rangi Semni Yonsu Du Dine Sanje Demba Karma Rabri Mame Tang Yuma Sirba Chubu Milam Lodan Dinda Wu Duje Chunam Dedar Ta Sunam Di Tamje Siwa Kopan Tomne Junji Tadu Kadan Nadan Chive Labu Sibe Solen Rowa Ruwara.
Thank you, Geshe Damdo. And if Venerable Dong Hui, you could kindly as well lead us through your chant. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me okay? All right. I'm going to use the instruments, the Dhamma instruments to do the chanting in the meantime. Đệ tử hôm nay gặp ngài Khánh Đàn, một cha vui mừng cúi đầu đảnh lễ mười phương tam thế đều ngỡ Như Lai cùng thánh hiền tăng chúng con cùng pháp giới chúng sanh bởi thiếu nhân lành thải đều xa đọa tham sân chấp ngã quên hẳn đường về tình ái si mê tô trong lùng đạo nay nhờ phận tổ năng nhân vô lòng lân mừng, không nợ sinh linh theo phương nạn kiếp luân hồi. Đêm dài tâm tôi đua tuệ rạng soi, nguyện cứu muôn loài pháp dụng phương tiện. Ta bà thị hiện tinh chúng đỏ xanh, thanh ma gia mộng ân đêm lành vua tình phạt vừa sinh con thảo. 32 tương tốt vừa 19 tuổi xuân, lòng từ ai cần thuần. Chi xuân trần hoa mạnh ngai vàng quyên tranh, tìm lối xuất gia sau năm khổ hạnh rừng già. Bài thân nghiêm tinh thiền tòa, chân thành đạo hòa. Hàng phục ma binh ba cõi tường, đều dạy tiếng quang nghênh muôn vần. Thái nhờ ơn tế độ, chúng con nguyện dứt bỏ dụng tình ngoan cố, ông đòi đấng thánh quang minh. Cuối sinh phần tổ giam thành từ bi gia hộ. Chúng con cùng pháp giới chúng sanh trong thành đạo cao.
Thank you, Venerable Donghui. And lastly, our last teacher is Sensei Elliston, Roshi, who will lead us through similar chant, but in English. And again, this is on the website. Thank you, Sensei.
Our chanting, we chant in Japanese as well as English. This is Four Noble Truths, first sermon, setting in motion the wheel of the truth, is not typically part of the Soto Zen liturgy, but it's one that we chant from time to time on Buddha's birthday and on Rohatsu. That is, we recite it, and one person leads in the oral tradition. Everybody else follows along, listening and saying what the leader is saying. And I think I chose it for the Buddha Dharma Sangha emphasis because it was the first instance of Buddha giving a Dharma dialogue or Dharma monologue or Dharma talk to the first Sangha, which was the 5 ascetic monks he was traveling with. So we use this in celebration of Buddha's birthday as well as Buddha's enlightenment. And at the end, since everybody's doing chanting, I would like to lead us in the briefly in the 3 treasures in Pali, the Tisarana, which is I think everybody is familiar with. It's not on the website, but I think people are familiar with it. So as I go through this, just follow along and say it out loud with me. Thus have I heard. The Blessed One was once living in Deer Park. There he addressed 5 fellow monks. O monks, these 2 extremes ought not be followed by one going forth from the household life. What are the 2? There is devotion to the indulgence of self-gratification, which is low, common, the way of ordinary people, unworthy and unprofitable. There is devotion to the indulgence of self-mortification, which is painful, unworthy, and unprofitable. Avoiding both these extremes, the Tathagata has realized the middle way. It gives vision, it gives knowledge, and it leads to calm, to insight, to awakening, to nirvana. And what is the middle way? It is simply the Noble Eightfold Path. Right view, right thought, right speech, action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right meditation. This is the middle way, realized by the Tathagata. It gives vision, it gives knowledge, and it leads to calm, to insight, to awakening, to nirvana. The noble truth of the existence of suffering. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering. Sorrow and lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. Association with the unpleasant is suffering. Dissociation from the pleasant is suffering. Not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates of clinging are all suffering. The noble truth of the origin of suffering. It is this thirst which produces re-existence and becoming. Bound up with passionate greed, it finds fresh delight now here and now there. Namely, thirst for sense pleasures, thirst for existence and becoming, and thirst for non-existence. The noble truth of the cessation of suffering, complete cessation of that very thirst, giving it up, renouncing it, emancipating oneself from it, detaching oneself from it. The noble truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right meditation. This is the middle way realized by the Tathagata. It gives vision, it gives knowledge, and it leads to calm, to insight, to awakening, to nirvana. The noble truth of the existence of suffering. The existence of suffering as a noble truth should be fully understood. The existence of suffering as a noble truth has been fully understood. Such was the vision, the knowledge, the wisdom, the science, the light that arose in me regarding things not heard before. The noble truth of the origin of suffering. The origin of as a noble truth of suffering as a noble truth should be fully abandoned. The origin of suffering as a noble truth has been fully abandoned. Such was the vision, the knowledge, the wisdom, the science, the light that arose in me regarding things not heard before. The noble truth of the cessation of suffering. The cessation of suffering as a noble truth should be fully realized. The cessation of suffering as a noble truth has been fully realized. Such was the vision, the knowledge, the wisdom, the science, the light that arose in me regarding things not heard before. The noble truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering. The path to cessation as a noble truth should be fully followed. The path to cessation as a noble truth has been fully followed. Such was the vision, the knowledge, the wisdom, the science, the light that arose in me regarding things not heard before. As long as my vision of true knowledge was not fully clear in these 3 aspects, in these 12 ways regarding the 4 noble truths, I did not claim to have realized the perfect awakening that is supreme in the world, with its gods, with its Maras and Brahmas, in this world with its reclusas and Brahmanas, with its princes and men. But when my vision of true knowledge was fully clear in these 3 aspects, in these 12 ways regarding the 4 noble truths, I did claim to have realized the perfect awakening that is supreme in the world, with its gods, with its Maras and Brahmas, in this world with its recluses and Brahmanas, with its princes and men. And a vision of true knowledge arose in me thus. my heart's excuse me, my heart's deliverance is unassailable. This is the last birth. Now there is no more becoming. This, the Blessed One said. The 5 monks were glad, and they rejoiced at his words. Thus have I heard. So, if I may take a little more time to lead the Tisarana. These are the three refuges in Pali. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tadiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tadiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tadiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei Elliston. And with that, we conclude our teachers leading us in the deliverance of the Dharma. And we thus conclude with dedication of our merits that we have accumulated from gathering here. And before we do that, actually, we did want to invite the teachers to provide a short panel on how to face fear during these uncertain times. So we will ask each teacher to provide very short talk or practice advice for those listening. Bhante Dipankara, you can go ahead first. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everyone so having us for the Vesak celebration today. So I think the most important thing is to reflect on the teaching of the Buddha at this moment to cope with this fearful situation, difficult situation that we are facing right now. So I myself think about the teaching of the Buddha. So he said that everything is uncertain, so that is the nature of our lives. So since things are impermanent, we cannot always expect to happen everything that we want in the way we want. Things are happening, unpleasant things are part of our life. Not only the pleasant things, pleasant situation or pleasant events. So I go through that Dhamma and reflect on it. So, and I accept this moment as a moment of difficulty. So, as a part of my life, not as something else, because as the Buddha said, also now in the chanting of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta of our Venerable, so we hear that we are not always getting what we want. So that is one thing. So departing from loving ones, meeting from unpleasant things is also suffering. So this is kind of something. So we should not fear of it. We should accept it as this is how it is right now, and we should take effort, courage, and understanding about the situation, and we should adapt our life to the situation and try to do whatever things that we should do to avoid it, to get rid of it. So that is what we have to do. So reflecting on the teaching of the Buddha, there is always cause for the everything. So I feel like that we have to think about ourselves, the way we perceive the world, the way we think about the world, and the things that we are practicing as a collective consciousness. So I see most of the time the root causes of our social life is not always the compassion or loving kindness. So it's rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion. So because of these uh, unwholesome tendencies that govern our life, we are creating a lot of abundance of unnecessary troubles, suffering for ourselves. So we are talking about environmental problems, we are talking about social problems, we are talking about social discrimination, inequality. All of these things are uh, based on or comes or derives from the human thoughts, not nature itself. So we should take care of our mind. We should take effort to somehow alleviate, to eradicate the defilements and cultivate the boundless compassion and loving kindness for the everyone. So that will make us noble people, and it will make human beings also noble, and that will help you to generate a lot of spiritual energy to cope with these kind of difficulties and pain too. So always reflecting on ourselves according to the teaching of the Buddha may help us to get rid of this fear. Life, your mind, your body, whatever external world that is you are seeing, hearing, feeling, touching through your sense organs are subject to impermanence. That is what Buddha said. All the conditional phenomena are impermanent. Nothing can be taken as soul and self. That's the truth of our life, the eternal truth of life. So reflecting on this deep teaching will help us to cope with this fear and difficulty. Thank you.
Thank you, Bante. And Geshe Damto, if you could also provide advice.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity. I greet everyone on this Buddha Day occasion. What a wonderful day to observe. Very pertinent in the midst of this pandemic that we are going through, in that this reminds us of our conditioned existence in samsara. And if we do not like it, we need to rethink living in a different way, rather than just be bound within our own preferred, or what you call, within our own attached, clinging circles. In this regard, ancient Tibetan Buddhist master has said, very similar to what Roshi about it. If you don't like it, then sever. So that's what I think as Buddhists we need to rise up to in accepting our reality within samsara for what it is. So acceptance, in this regard, William James has said this: acceptance of what has happened, and in this case, what is happening, is the first step to overcoming the consequences of a misfortune. So if you take it further into the Buddhist fold, it's not just acceptance in the more common parlance, but even acceptance of what the condition should be or would be within this realm of existence, indulging in afflictions and actions induced by that. So the acceptance has to be first and foremost there. And then if we want to make steps further, then we need to rethink our way of living. And within that mechanism of making our conditioned existence, there are a few things. Again, in William James, I'm going from William James to Buddhahood, not denying what William James has observed in the real world, but taking a step further, saying on that basis of where we can all agree, Buddha's pointing goes a little further. So he says, we are doomed to cling to a lie, even while we find it unendurable. So doomed in the sense, not that we have no way out of it. Of course, that's what he may have seen, that we are struggling and do not see a way out of it. But yes, from a Buddhist perspective, we do acknowledge that, yes, we have this clinging within us to a life, to pleasure, etc., even when we see them to be unendurable, lasting, etc., but still we cling onto this. And that's what is making our life stuck and miserable. But it doesn't need to be that way. There's a way out of it. Again, understand it first, and then look into the mechanism of it, and then seeing the reality, train in undoing it. So goes another kind of a mechanism that is at work in making our life miserable within samsara. He says that, again, William James, we are like islands in the sea, separate on the surface, but connected in the deep. We only see the surface, and we make a big fuss about our individuality, cling on to them, do not see the interconnection, undercurrent. But in reality, things are so connected that they cannot be teased apart from each other. And we are now seeing it very clearly, though not on a positive note, but on this note, it is very clear. And again, Buddha spoke very early on, saying things are interdependent, not just dependent, interdependent, which means the dependency goes both ways. And so much so that it cannot be teased from one another. That needs to be understood. And we do not need to just get stuck in that kind of a idealistic, myopic, idealistic, cut out kind of a vision, but recognize it for what it is, accept that, and then make the move beyond that. So it goes on and on in William James' writings, where I see the connection from the actual world before us that everyone can accept to making the move beyond, building on it, not necessarily denying it, but building on it by bringing in the Buddhist insights. And in all of this, William James, through his own research, that was very, very thorough on that level of common perception, so much so that he was called the father of Western psychology. So in his observations, he sees this, the greatest weapon against stress, the greatest weapon against fear, the greatest weapon against so many of the unwanted things is our ability to choose one thought over another. We do not have to get stuck with one thought and say, this is how I'm thinking, this has got to be it. No, we do not have to agree with our thinking. We don't have to believe our thoughts. Instead of just blindly following them, have a talk with them, discussion with them, dialogue with them, disagree, break away from that. And even in the observations of William James, he found that possibility. And he calls this the greatest discovery of his generation, that people can alter their life by altering their attitude. And this is exactly what Buddha says. Yes, this is the condition right now. You want to make change. There is the change. The change is through practicing the noble path. And that will break this cycle and land you to a state of cessation. But then we are luckily embedded with so much power, so much potential, particularly bringing about spiritual change. We have so much untapped power within us. From a Buddhist perspective, we call that Buddha nature. Everyone has the potential, the nature to become Buddha, let alone become Arhat, let alone become Arya being, even becoming full awakened Buddha like himself. And this potential is even recognized by William James in his own ordinary observation, where he says, we have enormous untapped power that you will probably never tap, because most people never run far enough on the first wind to ever find they have a second wind there. So where there is this need of gate, parasamgate, proceeding further and further, not stopping there. And only then there's the possibility of Bodhi Swaha, landing on the state of Buddhahood. So, but in all of this, we cannot just merely rely and hope that Buddha would do something. Buddha on his part has done everything that could be done. That's actually concern for others is what has propelled him into proceeding this path to becoming fully awakened. And he's attained full awakened state of being, not for himself. He pursued that for others. Now he is fully equipped. On his part, there's nothing lacking. He still is available. He still is inspiring us, initiating us. If only we care to look around, we will see insights all over. But we need to make the move. That's just the nature, the way the nature works. There's only so much the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, no matter how much fully awakened they may be, they can do. On our part, we need to make the move. And they have facilitated us to the utmost that they can. So there, William James again says, action may not bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. Just going about the motion of doing something for the sake of something is not going to be enough. Have got to do something, but that doing has to connect with what you are intending to achieve. So if you want to attain freedom from suffering, cessation, practice 8 Noble Paths, not other paths. By that, I'm not saying don't practice other religions. I'm not saying that. There, you practice the 8 Noble Paths. You practice right thinking, right action, right meditation, all of that. That will land you there. Not just anything under the pretext of doing something will land you there. By the way, if you want to make one's life worth living, it depends on the liver. Pun intended here. If you have a good, healthy liver, you will live worthily. If you have a good, healthy liver within you, you will live worthily. And that is on you. You can make the change by changing your mind. That's the only possible way by which you can change your life. That's how exactly Buddha did. So in that regard, I want to end this with a quotation from Dhammapada. where it says, one indeed is one's refuge. How can others be a refuge to one? With oneself thoroughly tamed, one would have attained the much sought after protection. Atano atahi atano nato koi nato parosia atanahi sudhantena natham labati dulabam. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Venerable Dong Quay, if you have as well any advice, it would be very helpful. Thank you.
I believe that we have anxiety, we have fear, because we have self. We have the self, we have the self of me, mine, I. We have a self of my family, myself, my body, my view, because that self and the clinging to that self, that causes fear, anxiety. We fear of getting sick. We fear of dying. We fear of our loved one get sick. We fear of our loved one dying because of that self. And the unacceptable of the changes. This pandemic, this crisis that we experience right now, not just ourselves, but the whole world experience right now. Because we are unable to accept that pandemic is happening right now. So we fear of the changes. If we're able to accept that this is a crisis, where it's coming from, causes from greed, from hatred, the energy that we generated, every one of us just generated that causing, that contribute to this pandemic. So by able to open ourselves, see we are part of each other, we are part of this environment. We will be able to take care ourselves, others not related to us. We are interdependent. Reduce our greed, reduce our hatred, reduce our discrimination, spread our love, unconditional love, regardless this person is the same, come from the same country or not. Just spread that love unconditionally. We will be able to get rid of this fear, because the love and kindness is the antidote. It's the antidote to the fear and the anxiety. Every one of us, anything that we can missing, but there is everyone's nothing. One thing that is not missing in us is the heart. That heart right there is always exists. If there is a heart, there is love that we can share with everyone. So if we can spread that, cultivate that love and kindness, not just to ourselves, not just to our loved one, but spread that energy toward everyone, we will be able to get rid of the fear and get rid of the anxiety that we have within us. And not just ourselves, but make ourselves be part of everyone, be part of the environment. The air that we breathe in It's same air that the other people breathe. Whatever we take into our view, open that up. See the, respect the view of others. So that way, when we open our mind, open our heart, then we see everyone is part of us. By doing that, there's nothing to fear. There's no enemy to be fear of. There's no separation. Just by doing that, we live peacefully. It's not a matter of if one day impermanence comes, we have to go. At least we go with a peaceful thought, right? It's not a matter when we go. Everyone will go at one time or the other, sooner or later. Every one of us will go, but at least we go with the love and kindness within us. And when we go with the love and kindness within us, we will for sure go to a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Dongklai. And finally, some final words from Sensei Elliston. Roshi? Thank you.
These are very hard acts to follow. But I would add a few comments. I'm a designer by profession. I come from graphic and industrial design background, and for the Emory Buddhist group, I provided some graphics and things that try to illustrate or model different teachings in Buddhism, including the Four Noble Truths as a four-pointed model. And if you look at the first truth, the existence of suffering, that there is no such existence as this without change. And so the coronavirus is teaching us the same lesson. Then the second of the Four Noble Truths is the origin coming basically from craving, from our own craving, but also from craving for existence itself. And so it tells us what to do to relinquish craving, to refrain from, or to, it's an act of omission rather than an act of commission, difficult for us to embrace. But it's an action-oriented teaching, which is Zen. Zen is very action-oriented. So what to do in this situation becomes the question. And the teachers have given very wise answers about that tonight. So the Third Noble Truth promises cessation of suffering. The Eightfold Path lays out a formula and a prescription, another model for how to follow this in daily life. Then I came up with a model that is like nesting spheres or concentric circles, if you will. The central one is personal practice, our personal practice in meditation. The second one out is social, where the interface or the boundaries with our family, with society at large, with the nation, politics, all of that comes into play. The third one out being nature, the natural sphere of influence around us, and then the universal as the sort of outermost. So when you look at the coronavirus, you see it's somewhere between the natural and the universal. The scientists say it's not even exactly a form of life. It's kind of a mechanical thing. But it was released by human behavior. And so you go to the 12-fold chain of, we now call it interdependent origination. When people ask me my political affiliation, I tell them I'm registered interdependent. Interdependent origination means that everything is affecting everything else, and it begins with ignorance. And so if we look at the suffering in the world, much of it is natural, you could say, earthquake, forest fires, and so forth. But when you begin to look at it closely, you see that much of it is caused by human ignorance. And this coronavirus is no exception. Ironically, the release of this coronavirus in China or wherever it happened, who knows? It's all political discussion. But nonetheless, it's forced everybody to face up to the truths of Buddhism. It's forced us all into isolation, which we do in Zen all the time, right? We do in Buddhism. We're into isolation and social distancing. That's a natural part of our practice and our process. So ironically, this pandemic, maybe like all pandemics of the past, have kind of forced everybody to face up to the truths of Buddhism, that there is no such existence as this without suffering. Other religions believe differently. They believe there's heaven, there's a paradise without suffering, and so forth. But Buddhism does not hold out that sort of rose-colored picture. Buddhism is very realistic. It's right down the middle way. It's not overly pessimistic. It's just realistic, but it's also not overly optimistic as well. So it just says, this is it as it is. So our recommendation is that you practice meditation. Become comfortable or resolve your personal situation on the cushion in your meditation. If you come to terms with your own mortality, your own impermanence, insubstantiality, etc., all of the teachings of Buddhism, then it will, on a social level, it will be okay with you if somehow errors in judgment in our political leaders affect you. We share that karma. We share the karma of our neighborhood. We share the karma of our culture. We share the karma of our nation. Karma is not an individuated thing. And if you can accept that, then it's not exactly to be forgiving. We don't condone or forgive people their ignorant behavior. But this is what what Buddha woke up to. He woke up himself personally, but when he looked around him, everybody else was like the zombie movies. Everybody was walking in a daydream or a nightmare. And he was the only one who could see it. They couldn't see it themselves. So then his first sermon to these 5 ascetic monks who had been traveling with him was the first example of Buddha. Buddha was not a Buddhist. Buddha simply means he woke up. When he came down from the mountain, they asked, what are you? What's different about you? I am awake. I'm fully awake. He was the only one in the room who was fully awake. Everybody else was sleepwalking. So the story is he had some ambivalence about whether there was really anything there to teach, but he tried. And what he started with these 5 monks that he was traveling with, these ascetics, was the first example of Dharma. And they were the first example of Sangha. And from there it grew to what we now call Buddhism. There was no Buddhism. Just as Jesus Christ was not a Christian. There was no such thing as Christianity. So I think we have to look at it this way, that what Buddha was just like you and me. He was just a human being, and he was faced with maybe not a pandemic of the sort that we're faced with, but I don't think Buddha would be surprised by it. He would be aghast at the scope of the vastness of it and the vastness of the ignorance that is propelling this and the size and scale of the information we have today. But the basic problems of existence, aging, sickness, death, and so forth, were the same in his time as they are in ours. There's nothing different here. So I would encourage everybody to take this as the most current salient example of the truth of Buddhist teachings.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you all for the teachers for all of the reminders to practice hard. And next on our list was student sharing. So from all of the teachings that we have received in the past few years, how has it impacted our lives as Emory students. We wanted to invite a few students to give their perspective of how it's been to be in the Buddhist club and what they've learned in the past few years. So I will let our past president actually, Lacey Campbell, she's graduating this year. I think she has a few words to say. So thank you, Lacey.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our teachers. That was wonderful. And thank you to Buddhist Club. I have learned a lot in Buddhist Club. And I think the most important thing that I've learned is this notion of interdependence. Had you told me that I would have been a part of Buddhist Club before even going to college, I probably would either not believe you or I would have questions. I was a meditator, but I didn't really break out of my bubble very much. And I ended up joining Buddhist Club on a spur of a moment. I talked to someone and I did a pre-program at Emory, and he told me about Buddhist Club. He was a previous president, Carson. And then my first week at Emory, I got a note underneath my door in my dorm telling me that Buddhist Club was happening on Thursday night. And these are all happenstance things. I didn't know that I would meet Carson before even coming to Emory. I didn't know that I would have something put underneath my door, but all of that kind of came together into what has been an incredible experience. Ambry Buddhist Club is community, it's home, it's a place to reflect and relieve all the stress that a student can accumulate while in school. It is one of the best clubs or organizations that I've ever joined, and I also think that it's one that should be greatly recognized. It's a very unique community. It's students, teachers, faculty, staff, people outside of Emory that come together weekly to reflect on their lives and their issues and struggles. And within this process, I gained a love for Buddhism, not only as a practice, but also as an academic inquiry. I ended up going to India. This is like all because of Buddhism or Buddhist Club, quite honestly. After 2 years in it, I became extremely interested, and I went to India on a study abroad trip. And then that transformed into me writing an honors thesis on anatta or no self in Buddhism. And Emory Buddhist Club has taught me that a single moment can transform your entire life, whether it's just someone putting a piece of paper underneath your door or you meeting someone new. And it's something that should be cherished. I will miss Buddhist Club, but they will always be there for me, and I know that. And I don't think I'll ever be able to recreate a community quite like this. So I just want to thank everyone who's been a part of it for me. You greatly impacted my life.
Thank you, Lacey. Thank you for serving as president and taking care of so much in the club as well. Very helpful.
Of course.
And her successor, Meha Srivastava, she will be taking over presidency. I think she also has a few words to share as well. Thank you, Meha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Meha. I'm a rising junior in the college, and I just wanted to say, Lacey, that was such a wonderful speech. You were such an awesome president, and a big thank you to everyone else on the EBC team. It's been so fun and so rewarding to work with you guys every week, and special thank you to all the teachers too for making time from their busy schedules to come share with us and help us attain at least some enlightenment in this lifetime. But yeah, as I said, I'm a rising junior. I've been a part of the Emory Buddhist Club for throughout my past 2 years as an undergrad. But meditation I've had in my life since I was really young. My parents taught us to meditate, and they gave it a certain importance in our life, but I think I was never really like fully cognizant of all the like powerful healing benefits that can come from just having a regular meditation practice and incorporating mindfulness into your lifestyle, because it was never really up to me and I never really took it into my own initiative to meditate. But when I came to college, I realized that if meditation and mindfulness was something that was important to me, then it was up to me. It was my own responsibility to incorporate it into my daily routine. And I think joining Emory Buddhist Club just made that so much easier for me. Like, it basically was like a weekly group setting where I saw people that I liked, people that I got along with, people that had similar thought processes as me, and I could learn from people who knew more about Buddhism, like a lot more about Buddhism than I did, and feel that like strong sense of community. And again, it gave me like a regular platform to practice meditation that I might not have chosen to do if I didn't have it like there ready for me. So I think it made it really easy to meditate more, and I slowly began to realize how much meditation can do for you. It can completely transform a hard college day of stress and seeing people doing things, just like a really hectic lifestyle that I think we're all really accustomed to. And it can just change your entire perspective on like life, how you're seeing things, how you're dealing with problems, how you're interacting with people. I think the most wonderful thing that I learned from it is to become compassionate towards everyone, no matter how different they are from you and no matter how much they might hurt you. Being compassionate towards other people there's just nothing like it. There's nothing that is more like, that can bring you more like happiness than just understanding someone else. So again, thank you to all the wonderful people that I've met through Buddhist Club, all the incredible teachers that have shared with us, all the really, really strong individuals that are on EBCT that I work with every week. And last thing, I put a lot into Buddhist Club, but I think I'm mostly just really thankful of how much I get out of it. So even though I put in a lot, I think I'm more just in awe of how much I get out of it and seeing how much like mindfulness and meditation can bring to your life. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Meha. Thank you for doing so much in 1 year. We've like roped you into doing so much, like emailing you all the time, texting you at night, whatever. But thank you. And finally, a reflection by Jacob Fine. So he's been coming for the past year. He also tried to start up his own Emory Buddhist Club at Oxford, I believe, or you were very interested in doing that, Jacob. And now he's going to be on the board as well for the next year. So please take it away, Jacob. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I just want to start by thanking Meha and Lacey for their amazing speeches. It really touched me and it really connected my experiences throughout this year, because my speech is more talking about the teachers. So it was really nice to think about, all of our individual experiences with Buddhist Club and the importance of mindfulness. So on this day of Vesak, a hopeful, honest, and rejuvenating full moon that connects us to the energies of beginnings, endings, and rebirths, we're brought together in a totally new way. And while this virtual beginning marks the end of our year at Emory Buddhist Club, it solidifies and cements the practices and experiences and memories that we've made and shared into this present and today. I'm so grateful for all of our teachers, for breathing life into the sacred, timeless teachings of the Buddha, not just for us here, not for people that will watch this recording in a week, but for all beings and for the world in these times. And really, I'm not trying to hide all of my feelings here, because stating this is all the justice I can do. There's no words that will capture the feelings, the gratitude, the appreciation, and the love that we feel towards our teachers and share with our teachers who are learning in the same way that we are learning and gaining insight each day. Because I went to Oxford for my first 2 years of Emory, this is actually the first Vesak I've ever had the privilege of celebrating, and I'm celebrating it with all of you. So my heart is just full of joy because I've never been able to celebrate this with any community, and because I get to spend this time, this hour and a half, but all the time after this and the thoughts that follow from this with all of you. And if I wrote about all the people that have touched me in some way or had a conversation with me in the past year, whether it be through chanting or a conversation or a connection through spirit or just energy, this speech would be way too long. So I'm not gonna talk about everyone, but I want each of you to know that you've inspired me, motivated me, and filled me with compassion, awareness, and really something I've never seen before, this hope for the future, that we can connect as a community of equals while embracing an awareness that we're all experiencing different stages of the same ultimate journey we call life. And it was really cool. We were meditating right at the beginning of this, and I was just thinking about my experiences with Buddhism. I started off meditating when I read Siddhartha, which is a book about the original Buddha. And I actually was reading the book again yesterday for the first time since then. So it's kind of like a rebirth of that same beginning. And right when I stopped reflecting on this, I looked at the gallery of all of your faces, and I was just overwhelmed with this feeling that you assembled a tree of this community with the Buddha at its roots and the teachings at the roots. And everyone just came together in this amazing way that I felt like I had included in my speech. So I just want to end by saying thank you everyone for being present with me throughout the ups and downs of our journey. And thank you who is listening right now, not all of us, but just you, for holding a piece of everyone in your heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. It's very thoughtful. I also want to make a small speech as well, because I do recognize this will be my last, I think, Emory Buddhist Club, since I've been coming for 6 years now, since I'm moving in next month. I'm very grateful that this exists, that Emory Buddhist Club was there. I knew nothing about Buddhism until I went to my first meeting at Emory Buddhist Club, and I saw like a Buddhist nun for the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And then just coming over and over, week after week, I've learned so much from the teachers who come and make their time available. So thank you so much, all the teachers, for coming and doing this. It's a very special occasion to even have a Buddhist club for students in America to be able to learn from. And I think the Dharma is very precious, and having the opportunity to hear it is very, it's very profound, and we're very lucky. And thank you as well to Emory, Marianne, Upali, Connie, and countless others that have been there in the path with me. I think Buddhism has since colored every facet of my life. So thank you all for everything. And I also apologize if I've ever said anything unkind and then in the past few years. All right, thank you guys. And with that, we want to dedicate all of the merit that we've accumulated from introspecting, from commemorating the Buddha, to share that with all beings. So we don't just keep the merit for ourselves, we want to extend that universally. So we will ask Marianne to lead us through the dedication chant. She'll lead the first portion on the website, and then we together will do the recitation at the end. So again, it's on the website. Marianne, if you could please. Thank you.
Behold, the circle of Japonica stands high, reaching even to the Dharma clouds. We have offered incense, candles, fruit, flowers, and the recitation of the adoration of the Buddha's relics to the Buddha Shakyamuni, expounder of Dharma. The truth has been pointed out from the time of our true teacher Shakyamuni to that of our teachers of this very day. May the offerings we make here show our gratitude and joy to all living beings. We pray that the merits thereof shall not only be given to our founder, but light the way of all who have not yet found the truth. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Thank you. And Upali has a few closing remarks. Thank you, everyone. You're unmute. Yeah, Upali.
Can you hear me now? Thank you, everyone. I just want to say I'm infinitely grateful to all the teachers and all the Buddhist Club members and everyone who joined us today. I just realized that there is a thread that has been built up through the speeches that our teachers have made, moving from Dipankara Hamaduru's, the Venerable Dipankara's statement about impermanence, how things are impermanent and we should face about the reality as it is, to Geshe Dandul's conditionality, how we can accept the conditionality of things, we are all interdependent, and to become very good livers. So that is something I remember forever. And then moving from Geshe Dadul's point about conditionality to how Venerable Donghui has talked about the unconditional energies, unconditional qualities of love and benevolence that we can cultivate, and also this infinite attitude of metta, loving kindness, and so on. So everything that is good in Buddhism is boundless and immeasurable, all the good qualities. So you can have them as much as you want. And then moving on to Sensei Elliston Roshi's use of how we can bring all of those to creativity, to transform our suffering into freedom, and bring them into action, not only out to be free from our own suffering, but also to social, to address social and even political suffering, and we can all seek freedom. So this represents such diversity of traditions and so many important viewpoints, so many things for each of us to take away. I'm so grateful. My best moment is hearing Geshe Dadul say the reciting in Sanskrit and Pali. Next time when you do this event, I have to remember to say few words in Tibetan. Maybe Dipankara Hamdru also you have to say, throw in some Tibetan words here and there so you can reciprocate then. Thank you so much. I know that we had actually originally planned for an hour of event, but this event has been so good that it has had a natural flow and so much wisdom. I even didn't realize 1.5 hours has passed already. And I know that the teachers are so busy despite having a lot of social things close. They are still serving their communities. As I said at the beginning, Venerable Dipankara is himself planning a Vesak event at his Georgia Buddhist Vihara, a day-long event actually day after tomorrow. So I apologize for taking so much time from you, and Reverend Greg as well. He's been so busy doing so many things for the Emory community. I see that in the participants, we have Connie and Emory Shu, who always likes to hide away but do a lot of work. And Marianne didn't speak, but I'm sure she had a lot of things to say as well. This Buddhist club is not ending today. It's a nice way to celebrate, but we'll continue to meet hopefully in the summer as well. So please be on the loop. This video has been recorded. Only the speaker's face has been seen in the video. And if you want to come back and revisit this moment, you can always come back. I think the information will be on the Emory email when it is available on YouTube or Emory Buddhist Club's website. Once again, thank you so much to everyone. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tujije. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you so very much to everyone who made it possible.
Yes, we formally end the meetings. If you want to continue with our gratitude, you can continue.
Tujije.
Yes.
You,
So
everyone,
maybe,
to make
yeah,
it
thank you.
possible.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to remember not to cling to the meeting also.
Yes.
No attachment.
Yes, no attachment.
Also have Sraman, actually the Buddhist chaplain of Tufts University. We happen to have the same last name, who has been following us quietly, and he says very nice, thank you so much. Okay, so please take care of yourselves, and see you soon and reconnect.
Thank you each and everyone for this beautiful present. Thank you.
Nice to see you again, Ma.
Nice to see you. Nice to see all of you. Everything.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I don't know if Zach has been on the loop yet. Please, Zach, you can stop the video now.